Wook Plus Live.
Welcome back to Wook Plus. I am Weekend Wook, and this is Kev the Great Went. Yo, man, that was fun listening to that music. That was my buddy Bob and Paul and I playing, and I forgot how much that bass line slaps in that jam. He's like butter right in there. What's up, guys? What's up, Kev? How you doing?
Was that band called Hugh?
It was at one point. Oh, dude, I got to tell you something sad. I was Taboo, nice to see you too, man. I was leaving, so I got the kit back there. This is also my office. I was working the other day, and I was leaving to go piss or something, and I realized I ran my finger on my cymbal, and there was a little bit of dust on it. And that's never happened in my whole life. I've never gone long enough to where, but it's been, life shit happens. I guess what I'm saying is I got to play some more. But yeah, that was Hugh. Once upon a time.
Oh, it's so good to see you.
Yeah, man, I'm happy to be
Who's
back.
echoing? Who is echoing Mike's grooving?
Hold on, I can fix that. I think so. All right.
And the first time I saw Pink Floyd, they did echoes.
You saw them?
With it. Yes, in '87, the first time. The second time I saw them, they did "Shine on You Crazy Diamonds," and then the third and fourth time they did it also.
Yeah.
So they only did the echoes the one time there. Dusty Cymbals could be also a country band too, Dave.
Yeah. A very weird erotica. I was thinking about that today. I was listening to Trey on the drive, and I was like, I gotta go and listen back to some more classic rock. Right, like I listen to so much like new. Now I've been listening to a lot of audiobooks and podcasts. But when I do listen to music, it's like PHiSH, obviously. But like I've been listening to like a lot of newer stuff. And like when I was young or younger, I would 74 was the latest I would go. 75, like early 70s and 60s was like I listened to that shit constantly, and it was happier times. I was happier listening to that music. I feel like I need to get some more, more of that back in my daily routine into my listen.
Right, you got to train your algorithm. I get all kinds of cool stuff from YouTube all the time because I'm always seeking out certain songs. So it's like, oh, okay, he likes this band and this band and this band.
Yeah,
which is fun. Sometimes stuff pops up you forgot all about.
Yeah, no, that's sweet.
We got a lot of stuff happen with PHiSH. Let me start off with, what did you hear about? Did you hear about Forest Hills and the people who live there getting the block on having events, but PHiSH still, PHiSH having an event there, but then the venue turning around and saying, hey, we're doing this. We don't care.
Yeah, how old is that venue? It's been there for a while, right?
They had the U.S. Open there back in like the 20s or something, I think. I mean, yeah, I think it's been around like 100 years.
Yeah, so like my point or my thought on that was, and it's not an original or super deep thought, but like if you move into the backyard of a fucking venue, don't complain about the noise. Like it's who moved in and was like, oh, it's not gonna make noise.
Right, Merriweather. You moved in to a place where there's a concert venue. Don't complain that they're playing.
Yeah.
You can walk to it. Enjoy that you're that close to Merriweather.
It was an effective campaign though, because it got people concerned about the events and like selling tickets and shit, and like it impacted their business. Oh, I'm sorry, Dave. That's why I had to leave, is because my internet out in the boonies sucks balls. Well, we're gonna just work with it tonight. We're gonna try to make it work. I apologize, I'm freezing.
We are gonna work with it.
Most
definitely. So today we dropped a microdose about Hampton.
Yeah.
And I heard it. I asked you, everybody asked friends, and we kind of figured that this is happening, which is huge. It was 2018 the last time.
Yeah. I don't know. I appreciate Hampton as a storied venue in the history of the band and stuff. I'm not super stoked Like I won't be driving down there, right? Like I like the nature venues. I like the venues where you're out on a field and shit. That's like a hotel, and but it's cool though. There's some great shows from Hampton, right? So I don't know if that's a. Do you believe in that? Do you think that the shed or the house is like a causation of the great shows, or do they just become storied venues because of the great shows that happen there? And it's kind of like you know what I mean? Like it's the chicken or the egg. It's like
I think it's the former because they went and wrote Fredo, and they mentioned all these venues they played in moments.
yeah. But like
I don't know. I mean, yes, because you walk in Merriweather Post Pavilion and you're like, Jimi Hendrix played here in '69. The Grateful Dead played here, or whatever your band is. Sinatra. I saw Sinatra play there. I was outside the fence. We couldn't sneak in that night, but I got to hear, my
but
way.
like I remember people talking about like SPAC like that, but I've also seen a ton of shit shows at SPAC too, right? Like, I don't know.
I'm with you. I think that Hampton for me has always just been gritty and dirty. Like when you're in there and the band's cooking, there's like a film on the floor of sweat, just the humidity rising off all the people falling down. So there's just something about it. It's one of those places, I guess, for me that maybe crosses energy lines in the universe. And when you're there, like Tipitina's, you go and see a show at Tipitina's and you walk out transformed, even if it was a mediocre show.
Yeah. Well, yeah, there is something to like the whole mothership and like the hit and the stories too of like last time we were here. I felt, where I felt that for the first time for real was Deer Creek, because that was a venue I hadn't been to until late in my music scene career. Like all these other venues I'd seen like as a much younger. And even though the Deer Creek shows were arguably not the best shows ever, just driving up to the venue, right? And like being in the lot, like I got those like goosebumps, right? Like, and all the stories you heard and the dead shows, the fish shows and everything else. So like there is something to the experience. Actually, the same thing with Dick's too, like which isn't as storied as these other venues, but that was another one I saw much later than everybody else. And like I had watched on the webcast and had all these stories and like the anticipation, and then when you finally are there in the venue with the fucking like roofs and shit in the sky, you're like, no, this is special. This is something really cool.
When I was talking to T, we're thinking about doing a series about venues, and the venues that came up were Nectar's, MSG, Red Rocks,
sure,
and Dick's were like the top of the list.
That is such a T list. It's like fucking New York and Denver.
And Nectar's because you got to do.
Yeah, well, you got to do Nectar's. You got to do MSG. But then, like the other two, is such a T list.
But
like,
I was
yeah,
thinking
about that Hollywood Bowl. All right, who came up with that list? Let me guess. Right,
I would put Hampton one there. You know what the funny thing is? PHiSH have played Hampton 21 times, and the Grateful Dead played Hampton 21 times.
Yeah, I like Dave's list: Deer Creek, Alpine, Pine Knob. I would throw in the Gorge.
How many shows did they do at Pine Knob, though? How many shows did they do at Pine Knob?
But the percentage, the batting average.
Merriweather has
Merriweather,
to be on there,
Merriweather.
The sabotage alone makes Merriweather have to make the list because you saw the whole venue lift off the ground when they went into that. Everybody jumped at the same time, and you saw the venue lift off the ground and come back down.
I think SPAC. I think Star Lake for sure. You guys should do that. I like that idea. Just you gotta do more than just fucking Red Rocks and Dick stuff.
Right. Well, but the thing is, I don't know if we have the quality there that you would get with like a Coventry kind of documentary, kind of
Fish Tales. Fish Tales. I might. Ironically, what doomed it was trying to set up an interview with T. Dude, Bethel is a great venue. I had such a blast at Bethel. That
Maybe
goes into my nature thing with the trees and the grass. Dude, the grass was amazing. It was like that real soft, thick grass that you just want to swim in.
See, now I feel like if you're going to throw Bethel in there, you have to throw something like the Spectrum in there. They did a lot of great shows at the Spectrum. But
I wouldn't throw Bethel in that production. That's not what I'm just saying. I really like that venue. I don't think it's as storied for the band though. I mean, there's been some pretty good shows.
I think the Spectrum might deserve it.
Is there a list? I'm gonna look up like the most played. I'm not gonna look it up.
I tell you what the most played venues are off the top of my head. I'm gonna just
is number one.
MSG, Nectar's, Hunts.
Okay.
Because they played a lot of shows at Hunts, and then I'd say probably Dick's.
Oh, now I have to look it up. Hey, any of the members or any of you guys watching, do you want to be our producer and just throw in the chat the most played venues? That would be great.
It would seem like that. I mean, Deer Creek's probably up there. You know, the problem with looking it up is if you look it up by venue, Deer Creek split into like 6 different names because every time it changed, Fishnet listed a new name.
I was thinking that about Camden. Wasn't that like the Teeter and then
it was the Teeter.
Yeah, the Teeter and then something and then the BNC or NBC or you know what the worst fucking venue is? PNC. Have you ever gone to a show there?
Oh my god, you've never heard my PNC story?
I fucking hate. I got a PNC story too. Let's do PNC stories. We'll exchange them. You can go first.
The first night they played there, and what was that, 99, I guess?
Yeah.
After the show, we're standing in front of my car, and the cops are chasing a nitrous dealer, right?
Okay.
Tackle the motherfucker on the hood of my brand new Tercel. Like, just drove it off the lot and drove up to see PHiSH. Dented. And I'm all psychedelic, and I'm like, you motherfucker, you need to pay for my...
To the cops.
Yeah, to the cop. I was angry, and my buddy was like, calm down, dude. And the cop says, go report it. So I drive over to report this to the state police station, and the guy laughs at me.
You pretty fucked up, though, right?
I was enjoying myself. But I wasn't drunk. I wasn't anything that would walk a straight line. I could have walked a straight line.
Yeah. I was a teenager, a young teenager, like 13, 14, 15, something like that. And my brother and I and a bunch of his friends went to see Allman Brothers at PNC. And I was impressionable and wanted to fit in with the older guys. And so they put I think it was Coors Light and a bottle of SoCo and a bong. And they were like, we're not bringing you into the show unless you kill all of this. So I was like, at that point, I hadn't done a lot of drinking or drugs or whatever. Fast forward, second set. My brother's in the pisser. I'm on the snack line. I just start vomiting like violently, and nobody's there to get me. Fucking get me in handcuffs. Cops have me there. They're about to walk me out. My brother comes out and luckily saves my life. And he's like, he's a fucking little kid. He has migraines. He's not fucked up. He just has migraines. Call a medic, put him down, and they let me go. They believed him. I don't know why. I mean, I must have smelled so bad just with like the alcohol and shit. And I was definitely, I mean, they didn't
want to do the paperwork, and they were like, all right, this guy's going to take responsibility.
They just wanted to make sure somebody was there to take care of me. Well, I was by myself. That's why they freaked out. And then once they realized somebody was there, I'm not proud of the puking rally, but I made it to the end of the show, and it was a great show, as I'm told. So
I took my kids when they were 6 and 4 to see Selena Gomez at PNC. We drove up there, stayed in a hotel, went to the show.
What side of the parkway were you parked on? Because that's my issue. Is when you park
on the other side. Yeah, we had to walk across.
Fuck that! What a shit venue. Do better, Jersey.
So we go in, right, and we're standing on the lawn. My oldest runs down into the pavilion. So I say to the guy, I'm like, I got to go get my other one. And I got the youngest. She got down to the 6th row and she's standing there in the aisle. So I come up, I stand behind her, and we're standing there. So I sit down so I'm not like blocking anybody's view. And they're standing there watching it. The guard comes up and is like, "You can't sit down." And just let us stand there. And we got to watch the whole show from the 6th.
Oh, that's cool.
She was the original gate crasher.
I love that. Yeah, I was gonna say you have a history of that. So I love that that runs in the family. Yeah, no, I like Camden, Mike. And honestly, if you live in Jersey, you're spoiled as a PHiSH fan. Between Camden and the Man and PNC and even Maryland, you could get down to Meriwether in like 2 hours, and then obviously New York, MSG. I mean, you could hit. That's funny. It's like, ask somebody where they are when they tell you their heady stats. They're like, "I've seen 206 shows," and you're like, "All right, where are you from?" They're like, "Yeah, you live in New York. I live in Jersey." And you're like, "All right, well, fuck, you know, of course you did."
It took me 30 years to get to 100. It took me 30 years.
What's impressive are the people that live in like San Francisco
Idaho.
or something. Yeah, Idaho, to have like 100 shows. You're like, hell,
300 shows.
Yeah, like, that's commitment. Like, that's a fuck. You got to put some work in to do that. You must really like this band, huh?
Yeah, that is.
Any other news while I was gone? I every once in a while I catch these headlines and I'm like, I would love to talk about that.
There's some official statements that came out.
Fucking bands.
Apparently, Jeff, if you remember back in January, I don't know if you were around for this, he said, "I'm not touring. I need to focus on myself." Yada, yada, yada. Yeah. So he didn't tour. I think we've talked about the shows. They sounded really good as a 4-piece. I feel like it freed Cotter.
Of course they did. They kept him so down in the mix. Their fucking engineer knew. They were like, "Fuck this guy." They kept him so far down in the mix. I know he's a talented musician. I know he can play like 20 different instruments and shit, but he's a creep from what I know. And he contributed nothing. GooSe got like 117% better and cooler with Jeff off the ticket. Honestly, like, I am reconsidering the band altogether now because he never sat well with me, even before you heard all this shit, right? There was something about him that's just like, I don't like the idea of like the fucking, you know what it was? The token. All right, I'm going to piss off the 3 GooSe fans that actually watched this show. Ben Lovem could not fill in the way that, what's the guitar player? Rick heard in his head, right? Like, Rick had an expectation of what the drummer sounds like, listening to people like Carter Buford and John Fishman and all of his, like, you know. So when they had Ben, he was like, we need to fill this out more. So they got Jeff. But then they got Cotter, and he completely could fill it out. Didn't need Jeff. So then Jeff became kind of useless. And there's only so much. Yes, there's only so much shit. If you are one of the top rock and roll bass players and a founding member, they'll deal with some weird shit. But if you are an add-on percussionist that's no longer needed, once you start pulling weird shit, they're like, all right, get the fuck out of here.
Right. Now, my thing is, if you remember back when Ben left, there were joint statements. GooSe released a statement. Ben released a statement the same day saying it was amicable. Right. That's the way you do it. This happened. GooSe releases a statement. We wait 3 days before Jeff releases a statement talking about I was in rehab. Yada, yada, yada. I wouldn't sign an NDA, so I didn't get a severance package. And that's when you're like,
stupidest shit ever. It's not signing an NDA.
But why are you airing this all out all of a sudden? And then a couple days later, on his website, he's selling all his gear. You can go to his website.
He's always been selling his gear, though. He was doing that. He was always selling his gear. I remember when I was on, back when it was Twitter, he would be like selling bongos and shit.
Okay, so he's a music dealer.
Yeah, he's like the original Wody, always just wheeling and dealing and selling shit. No, I think that was fucking stupid though to to not take the severance. Like, that's an egotistical fantasy narrative he has in his head. A, that anyone gives that much of a fuck, or B, the people that think he's a creepy fuck are going to believe him anyway. Like, let me go on my soapbox and tell you why I'm not a creep. Okay, creep. Like, we don't believe you. Take the fucking money and say goodbye to all the public and just go. Like, get out of the spotlight and just take the fucking money. Don't be an idiot.
The wording though of the GooSe thing, their statement, they called it an organization, and it seemed like a lawyer drafted it, and not a very good lawyer probably, but like I feel like they were trying to get ahead of something with this. Now, my question to you is, should a band even bother to say anything, or should GooSe should have said one sentence, Jeff is no longer with the band? Or not even said that, just
not even say that, just
continued.
show up and Jeff not being there. I think you have an obligation, honestly. So Jeff is a weird situation. If like hypothetically, let's just say if Paige, and we're not going to make it negative, say Paige just had this awakening. He's like, hey, I want to take some time off, but the rest of the band was like, we want to really play or whatever. I think they do have an obligation to let the fans know that one of the 4 founding members isn't there, right? Because it's like you're selling tickets, there's an expectation, and the band would be notably, considerably, significantly different without Paige or Mike or.
Right.
But like Jeff, a percussionist, no, if I were them, I wouldn't have said a fucking thing. I would have just shown up and see how many people even notice. It probably most of the people there would not have noticed, and the ones who did would be like, "Oh, that's sweet." Got rid of that guy.
Something I've been thinking about. Remember, they reset the stage, and they had them 4 across: Peter, Trevor, Cotter, or Rick, Cotter, and then there was this little extra Adam over on the side. That's where Jeff was. It was like they had already made the cut with him at that point, and he still played through the end of the year last year.
That's kind of like the Spafford thing where it's like,
so that's even more bizarre, right? Because
it's so wild.
All right, it goes back to an accident. There was an accident with the Spafford van, and after that accident, Brian didn't tour for the spring of 2024. Then when the summer tour came up, Jordan, the bass player, took off and didn't play, and Jordan has not been back. And Jordan released a video last year, maybe 6 months ago, saying, I don't know what happened. No one will respond to my emails. I want to come back. A couple of days ago, Spafford releases a statement. Why are you releasing statements? And starts to go into the legality, all of it, right? So Jordan responds and says, that's not true. So Corey Scheckman, the guy who replaced the original keyboard player, Red, releases screenshots of text messages today. And I'm like, all of a sudden, you've gone down this total poop hole thing with this.
Yeah, it's funny because when you hear it all in hindsight and you see it, like this guy saying, I never said I would quit the band, and then there's a text message of him quitting the band. It looks fucking crazy. But, like, it does. It looks like he's out of his fucking mind. But the human side of me can somewhat relate, because there's been times where I've done something and I've regretted it, and I want to just deny, and like, I don't go that far because I'm not deranged and, crazy like that. But the difference is in 2025 is there's receipts. Nothing is hidden. Nothing is forgotten. You can't, it's not he said, it's literally out there in the public domain. And there's text messages and screenshots. This is a perfect example of keep that shit in house. I love T's line. I'm going to give him credit, but it was like a tier 3 jam band with tier 1 drama. It's fucking crazy.
You don't. What is the point of that? I mean, we've had our issues. I mean, we started out, there were 6 of us. One person left, and we've never really even said anything about it. He just kind of went and did his own thing. The other person left, came back, left, and we've made various references and lighthearted jokes about it, but there was never any, oh my God, this is what really happened kind of thing. It's what is the point?
And you know what? And I don't mind using names. I mean, it's all public fucking domain and shit, but like the difference to me, and I've made peace with both of them, and I think it's great. But like Chad was dealing with some shit. We were dealing with some shit. It was a complicated time, but we just knew like it was a mutual thing. It was just like, okay. And then because of that, he came back a bunch of times and it was fun. You know what I mean? And we like and you don't burn bridges, right? And then like when Fam left, there was a lot of emotions, and admittedly on both sides. Specifically, he and I will defend you and Llama and T. Fam and I, if you don't know him, if you don't know me, we at the time, I don't want to speak for him now. We were both hotheads, right? So like shit got ugly. We were both publicly saying like fuck that guy, and all this shit. And then what that does is it immediately eliminates any potential to mend or move on or to have any type of, you know, coming back together kind of thing, right? Because it's so ugly. That's why with these band things, to bring it back, is like just fucking go off, like save face for both of you. Don't give us your drama, and then in the future you never know what happens. Fucking people change opinions, you know, and grow up, and it's fine. Like fucking chill out.
I mean, you have something like the Black Crowes or Oasis, you know, where there's brothers that completely melt down, but they get back together. Oasis is going to do a huge tour, make a nice payday. Black Crowes, I guess, have been on the road recently,
Yeah,
you know,
awesome.
and you got to go back. And how do you clean up the mess when you say some just wrong stuff about other people, and then you have to turn around and be like, hey, let's go out and hit the road again?
Well, that honestly, that was the craziest thing of the whole fucking story, is after all of this shit that was said and all the infighting and all this shit, his lawyer reaches out to the band. It's like, Jordan's going to come play. Like, what the, like, what would that be like? What if the band said, okay, like how awkward would that be to go out on stage and fucking play with them after all of that?
Right. I have not listened, admittedly, to Spafford this year like I have in the past couple years with Jordan. When I felt like when Corey Scheckman joined the band, they really went to another level.
Yeah.
And that all
I
of
like
this
that guy.
is, you know, it is what it is. So do you know what today is? It's the April 2nd. Does April 2nd make you think of anything?
We survived April Fool's. No, what is this? What is April 2nd?
1998. In 1998,
Oh,
today
Island
started
Tour?
the Island Tour. Yes.
I was gonna say Island Tour, but I thought it was the 8th for some reason. But it's
Yes.
98.
Yeah,
Yeah.
second, third, fourth, and fifth. So let me ask you. I know that you've been you're a PHiSH fan, and I'm sure you've listened to all the shows. What is your go-to out of the four? How about it? How about it? This even a go-to set, because I feel like two of the shows, one set really outshines the other.
Oh man, I like Nassau personally more than Providence. I don't I think it was the second Nassau, the second set, second night of Nassau.
That's probably
right?
set the top tier. That probably is
Yeah.
the top set.
I'm terrible with dates, but I know it's Nassau, and I'm pretty sure it's the second night is the one I'm talking about. What do you think?
Oh,
Is that in line with your expectations?
I would say yes. I went to all four shows. I was lucky enough to go to all four shows.
I didn't know that.
Yes, I went up to Nassau for the two with one couple, drove all the way back to Baltimore, got in a car at 3 a.m. and drove all the way to Rhode Island because they were 4 days in a row. There was like no time off. So I wasted like 8 hours of my life driving from New York back to New York.
We should do Fishtail season 2 and just do the 4 island tour.
Right.
It'll be an unannounced run, and it'll just be 4 episodes.
But for me, I mean, I love that, but maybe it was because it was the 4th show. But that last set, probably my favorite segment of PHiSH music is the Maze Shafty Possum Cavern that closed that second set. If anything of PHiSH, I've listened to that more than anything else. If I'm like, I want to listen to PHiSH, I'll put that on. So for that, I just have this special place in my heart. But I mean, it was so fantastic that they did that. The name was, for just coming out of retirement, dusting the mothballs off, we're going to do 4 shows. They really didn't miss a beat.
Yeah, it was pretty peak fish. We did a jam bracket. Or it was a show bracket. One of the brackets. I think it was the show bracket. And I think 2 of the Island Tour shows made in the Elite 8, which is crazy that 2 shows from a single run of all of the fish shows were in like the Elite 8 of the tournament.
I was looking back the other day at the lot, some of the shows that they did for Dinner and the Movies. And since it's been like 5 years since they started that, and man, we were so lucky. Some of those shows that they showed, I tell you,
I like
mothballs.
this.
Yeah,
I'm a busy guy. Yeah, there is probably 0 chance that Fishtails is getting done in the next couple of months. It might.
Couple of months.
It might.
But you are going to be around for spring tour, right? Am I going to get you to stay up for a couple nights?
Yeah, I think so. This is fun. I'll give you guys my opinions. When is Fish Tour?
It starts the 18th, 19th, 20th of this month.
Yeah,
and it's 8 shows.
8 shows? Holy shit!
Yeah, that's why I was thinking the Hampton thing was going to be Bourbon and Beyond, Atlanta for 2 nights, Nashville for Tuesday and Wednesday at the outdoor place Ascend, and then Hampton. So you get another 8 shows, and that puts you at 47 for the year.
Yeah, no, I think that's reasonable.
And that way it wouldn't extend another 5 shows, because earlier T was like, well, what if it went to the 26th the next week? And then I'm like, where are they going to play that extra 5 shows? They aren't going to go into Florida. They aren't going to go out to the Midwest if they're going to end up at Hampton.
Yeah, I mean, they might go into Florida. They've gone down there a couple of times. Like Jacksonville in 16.
Yeah, 16. That's 10 years almost.
Well, that's my point. Florida is like a once a decade stop.
But someone pointed out to me earlier that that's hurricane season.
Yeah, they did Jacksonville in hurricane season last year too, though. It's an arena. Who gives a fuck?
They did? They played Jacksonville last year?
No, in 16. It was in October. 16. October's still hurricane season.
I guess. So Trey's on tour, and I asked you to listen to a little bit of Trey. What'd you make of the Tansky thing?
Jeff Tansky is a phenomenal musician. His touch and feel on the piano and understanding of Trey's compositions and counterpoint to the way Trey plays acoustic is just insane. It's a pleasure to listen to. I like this format a lot because it strips away, not that these are bad things, right? I wouldn't say always, but like the buzz and all like the instrumentation and the hype and the groove abilities, right? Like you see Fish, and a lot of times they're just relying on their 40 years of just locking in, right? But you lose some of the composition and some of the finesse just by the nature of like how loud and powerful it is. Some of the finesse of the music. When you listen to Trey by himself or Trey with Tansky, it's out there. It's raw. You hear every note. You hear all of the movement. Dude, there were times where like Stash on like wherever they played right before Charleston, he was playing so softly, everybody shut the fuck up, and you had to like really listen. And he's hitting the notes, but they're like barely there. They're like whispers of notes. But it's just, I don't know. It's really enjoyable to hear the music interpreted that way. And I didn't know Jeff. I could come in and be like, oh yeah, the Hands on the Heart Body director, the Broadway guy. I didn't know that. Like he wasn't a household name to me before this. But now I'm like, that guy he can play. Like I can't believe he learned all this. I must have known all of them.
Well,
right? That's a lot of music.
it stems back to the Beacon, right? He played with Trey at the Beacon, and he
Oh, did
helped.
he? I suck at this shit. I'm not
Yeah,
good. That's why I don't
no,
do this anymore. I don't know any of this shit.
that's where it stems from, and he wrote all the string arrangements
For the Beacon.
Yeah. So when
Yeah.
we had like You Enjoy Myself, and they had the cello and everything out there. So
Yeah.
that begs the question for me. What would you think of a show that you went and saw Trey, and the first couple songs were acoustic, then him and Tansky, then him and a couple string people in Tansky came out, and then the second set was electric?
No. Because I personally, I would. It's a different mindset. I would want to see like an intimate evening, or I want to have my face melted, and you know, I, thanks, Taboo. You're gonna make me self-conscious. Uh, no, I think it's important to have that setting and like the expectation. Like, I wouldn't want to know that Fishman and Page and Mike. Are you saying like with the bands?
No, I'm saying with Tab.
With Tab?
The second set would be the 5-piece.
Yeah, maybe.
Come out.
That I could, because I couldn't see it where like the rest of the band was backstage. Like, that would be weird to me. But like, yeah, have a progressive Tab show. That could be cool.
Like the Garcia on Broadway thing. Garcia
Yeah.
came out with Khan and did a couple tunes, then had the acoustic band, and then came out and played 2 full sets of Garcia stuff. But I was thinking, if you're going to bring a string section, you're going to play a longer first set, because you're going to want to mine that catalog. Somebody mentioned Pebbles and Marbles, somebody mentioned Divided Sky. These are just brilliant compositions for that setting. And for me, the jewel of all this with Tansky has been the Petrichor. I'm like, that's where that song should live. So beautiful. The acoustic guitar and the piano is a little Wyndham Hell for me, but it's right there. It's where it should be.
Yeah, that was really, really nice. And I listened to, I don't remember which venue it was. It was the last one they did, the Petrichor. And he fucked up a couple of times, traded, but to Tansky's credit, it was a seamless. And that's the nice thing too. I think it's easier when they only have 2 people, right? It's easier to just jump. It felt like a conversation where you're kind of like not cutting each other off, but like talking right, boom, 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 boom. Like, he was right there in lockstep with them. And I think that song struggles because when it's with the 4 of them, because they're not super well rehearsed and it's not perfectly tight. But with the 2 of them having it exposed like that, it's okay if he makes a mistake, because Tansky, or vice versa, they adjust so quickly. Yeah, that's what I thought, Jason. But I wasn't feeling confident enough
Maybe.
to
All
argue
right.
with them.
Fair enough, Jason. Jason doesn't like me anymore.
I know that Tansky worked on Hands on a Hard Body and has done a bunch of shit on Broadway. I didn't know about the Beacon thing though, but
yes, he was on stage. Either way, he was on stage. I'm just not doing good today.
Oh yeah. Oh, fairly well.
So how do you think this bodes? Trey has never done a solo tour in recent memory this long. How does this bode for spring tour?
Good. I noticed that he's fucking his voice up on the reg again, which is concerning. I think I'm convinced that we're in a phase of PHiSH and Trey's life where we're not going to get consistent shows in a row without Trey's voice being fucked up. I think it was like 2 years ago that it started to really become prevalent, and I was like, oh, he's just sick. Oh, he's that. And the nice thing is it wouldn't last. You drink tea, you would do something, you figured it out. In the solo tour, he's ripping his voice apart. Yeah, man. This is not my mom's basement. That's funny. I haven't had trolls. See, that's why I was like kind of stepping away from it. All these like insecure bros that are just like want to like hate on people. No, my internet sucks because I live in the boonies. But I do own this house actually.
And what's with the laser focus on Ted Danza? That's a little scary.
Yeah, I don't know.
Who's the boss, motherfucker?
Yeah. Oh, hold on. Where'd that go? I got rid of him.
Oh, there he goes. Bye.
Yeah, that's a weird thing. Like I moved in with my parents for a couple of years, like a decade ago, right after we got married, which sucks, by the way, for my wife. And actually, we moved into my in-laws' house because my mother-in-law had cancer. But both times, it sucked for the other person. But like, that's a weird thing to fucking yell at people for, because like shit happens, right? Financial hardships. Like I'm actually doing pretty well. Like I'm an engineer. I'm comfortable, but like I have friends and like I know people that like fall on hard times and they have passions and shit. You're gonna like
I have
come
a
and
friend who
diss.
has to take care of his mother, so he moved
Yeah.
in there
And
because
so
he
like if
can't
I was
afford
in
to
my
put her
mom's
in a
basement,
nursing home.
right? So if I were hypothetically in my parents' basement, like who the fuck cares? Like why would you like what kind of insecurity do you have to like fucking rip on somebody who's not doing anything negative or hurting like what kind of small dick energy do you need to fucking be like, "Oh, you live in your like fucked off, dude. Seriously?" Like that's some tiny dick toxic bullshit. But anyway, no, yeah, I do not live with my parents anymore. My wife is very happy about that. She did not like when we had to move in with them for a few months. That was rough.
I had my girlfriend and I lived with my mother for a while. That was weird.
Yeah, she hated it, right? Probably both of them. I mean, my
Well-
mom loved they love each other when we don't live together, but it was just intense when you're like in the same house.
Well, I'd be at work and I'd get phone calls from my mother and from her bitching about the other one while I'm at work. I'm like, I'm at work. Well, I'm
Yeah.
trying to get us out of there, baby. And I'd say to my mom, I'm trying to get us out of there. Leave me alone. I'm at work.
I used to tell her that when we were doing that situation because we were renting before that and we were trying to save up and shit. It's like, you know how much we pay in rent? And she's like, oh, I didn't think we pay rent. I was like, exactly. It's like we can suck it up and not have to pay anything for a couple of months.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Sometimes you got to do that.
I am actually fairly calm. I'm just out of practice. When you do the internet thing every day, you get really good at like ignoring assholes and shit. But like I've completely been off of social media and tuned out. I'm really here because I love you guys and Kev, but like I've lost the interest to like really be connected. But part of that is you lose the practice of tuning out the trolls, right? So that's why it got through to me. I'm out of practice a little bit. I apologize. Did not mean to get a little worked up there.
I mean, you're more than welcome next week. We have Matt Bush coming on, and we're gonna
I
get
love
into
Matt. I'll probably, you know what I'll do is I'll probably swing by just to say hi to Matt. But you and T, you guys get in such great conversations with Matt. You have a knowledge with him that I don't.
Did you see the Dave Gans episode? That was so fun having Dave Gans on.
I loved that people were busting on your hosting skills.
Yes,
Meanwhile,
yes.
I did the exact same thing constantly, but I had to go in there and be like, come on, Kev, do better than that.
Well, you know what? This afternoon I was like, I should write up an intro and introduce you.
The artist formerly known as Wook created a couple brackets. Yeah, no, the Gans thing was great. I love all the effort and all the shit you guys have been doing, the content and the interviews, and I'm glad that it's kind of like a win-win situation. I'm taking a much needed mental rest, and you guys are, doing your thing and rolling, and I think it's been great.
We're losing members by the dozen, but it's all right.
But the true ones, they're sticking with us.
They're sticking with us. But so Matt's coming on, and recently he did a show. He manages, in addition to God Street Wine, he manages Sam Grisman, Dave Grisman's kid, and they did the Dave Grisman 80 celebration in Seattle. It was supposed to come out on Nugs. I think Dave was like, I want to make sure it's perfect. So they didn't release it. He wants to run through, but Billy Strings came out with Grisman, and Grisman's longtime bass player Jim Kirschwin and somebody else and did Grateful Dog. And I just have to say that Billy Strings is the torchbearer for Acoustic Garcia.
Mm-hmm.
It might be Mayor for the electric that he does with Den Company. I will go there. That I think that ultimately he honors the tradition the most.
Yeah.
Mayor does electric, but Billy was just so fantastic. But there were like 27 people there for the last song on stage. 5 people playing stand-up bass. I mean, just totally sick. And they actually did new music. David Grisman wrote new dog music songs, which are more jazz based, like Jazz Mandolin Project. You ever listen to them with Jamie Mansfield and Fishman? It's that kind of, it goes toward that direction where you have to pay attention and it's all instrumental, you know?
I saw a YouTube video with Strings and some guitar. I think the guy is like famous in his like scene. He's like this gray haired, like he looks like a producer, like a guitar tech or something, but like they really got into like the nuts and bolts of like how he plays and why he does certain things and like growing up with his dad and shit. And after watching that, I had like, and like it's weird because like I've always kind of known how good he is, but to hear him break down his like technique and like why he does things and like while he's playing, I was like, he's fucking phenomenal, Billy Strings. Like, yeah, I don't know that I want him in my PHiSH. I stand by that take, but I absolutely like admire and appreciate and think he's a phenomenal musician.
I really enjoyed him coming out and doing the electric, but what really shines and the thing that I would pull from those shows, even make a side of a tape out of, would be the acoustic performances.
Yep, agreed.
So there again, I mean, Billy Strings is a fantastic acoustic player. I talked to this woman the other day, Hedvig Molestad. She is a Norwegian guitar player and she has a power trio. She is a fantastic electric guitar player. And she said something about acoustic guitars. I said, do you play acoustic? She's like, no, never played one. I have no interest. I like the electric guitar. So some people choose one path or the others, you know?
I mean, they're pretty different, right? Like the touch. I mean, I'm not a guitar player, but like the approach and everything, it's like they're not the same instrument. I mean, they are.
It's like baseball and softball. They look the same, but the game of softball is completely different than the game of baseball because the diamond's smaller and just the whole philosophy because the ball's bigger and can really hurt you.
That's a great analogy, actually. That's
you.
exactly what it's like. Yeah.
So, God bless Billy.
What else has been going on? Anything
Did you ever listen? Did you hear any of the Den Company? See any of the set list?
No, I didn't even know they were playing.
So it's second weekend. Third weekend starts, I guess, tomorrow. Broke out Give Me Some Lovin'.
Where are they? The Sphere again?
The Sphere. Yeah, through May.
Wow.
18 shows again. Estimate the profit. But they broke out Lay Down Sally with
same
Mayor.
lineup as yeah.
Remember when we talked to Matt Bush, he was saying part of the thing with writing the set list for them when he did that was there were a limited number of Mayor tunes. So they added Give Me Some Lovin', which was a full band thing to open, but that gave a Mayor vocal. They did Lay Down Sally, which gave a Mayor vocal, and then Broken Arrow, the Phil cover of the Robbie Robertson tune they busted out. So they've been adding Mayor tunes through the 6 shows, which I found fascinating.
How many other artists have played at the Sphere? Like it was U2, Dead & Co. and PHiSH, and then the Eagles. But is that it? Did anyone else get in there? And then back to Dead & Co.?
There was a DJ over New Year's, and they've been doing a DJ thing.
Yeah, and they do the movie thing, but...
And they do the movie thing. I think that might have been it. And then they have the country guy playing this summer.
Yeah.
And they have Backstreet Boys coming up. Or New Kids on the Block, or one of those. Kenny Chesney, yes. Thank you, Simon.
Yeah. Did you see that thing? I was that an April Fool's thing? The the second sphere.
Oh yes, it's fat. It's back. And Pigeons did a good one about playing Madison Circle Garden or something. Madison something, I don't know. Good for them. But you know what? April Fool's jokes just don't go over like they used to with the current way
No.
the world is, because you can't believe it. You're like, that's probably
I don't
true.
believe anything now. Like real life is so fucking crazy, and fantastical and nonsense. My daughter was funny as shit though. She got my wife so bad. We were in the living room. My wife was in the kitchen. Evie was like, "Mommy, the baby's on fire." And my wife comes running over, and then Evie was like, "April Fools," and I just fucking died. I mean, I probably should have been concerned. I was dying laughing. It was the funniest shit I'd ever seen.
You should,
Like,
yeah, you probably should have been saying something. You can't do that, baby doll.
yeah, like not giving my wife a heart attack, but just
There are
like
certain
to nail that humor at 6 years old is like, oh, it's so good.
maybe that's her path.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, man, the karate thing, we've been doing that. She's a natural, kicking all the older boys, kicking all their asses. They all afraid of her. I've
Right.
been digging it.
Did they make you, how did they work it? When my kid wanted to do karate, she went for a month for free, and then they're like, you got to sign up for 3 years unless you move far enough away that you can't get here reasonably. And they made me sign her up for 3 years. I was like, what am I doing? A month later, she's like, I don't want to do this anymore. And I'm like, you got 3 years?
No, ours is month to month, like, which is cool. And it's one of those things where they have 4 classes a week, and you could go to 1 a week or you could go to all 4. You get to choose which, and you don't have to go to the same day every time. And she fucking goes 3 to 4 days a week. She loves it. And I can't, every day you see improvement. And she's only 6. All the other kids in her class, she's the only girl. They're all boys, and they're all 7, 8, and 9, mostly 8 and 9. And she's fucking fierce. Like, she's not back down at all. She's right up in their face, and I love it. I love to see that. What else do we got? Do we have the? Oh, we're not ready for the Neil Young. I think we. That's all I had.
Yeah, I think that's all we have. I'll tell you what, we have the Discord up and running. It's been quiet recently, though. I feel like somebody farted or something and everyone left. We're not sure what was going on with that.
I posted in there the other day. I did a run. I stopped by and said hi.
I probably don't understand Discord, but if you want to join the Discord, it's down there in the links. We would love for you to leave a comment.
Yeah. Help the algorithm out. Help Kevin TL. Come in here, like this video, subscribe to the channel. I know people don't like to subscribe to shit because the algorithm puts it on your thing and you don't have to, but do it anyway because it helps us. And and then come back. Even if you're watching live, come back and leave a comment. Even if your comment is, hey, I came back here just to comment, just fucking come back and comment. It doesn't hurt you. It helps us. So do it.
Right. You know what? Jason could even come back and comment that the host doesn't bother to introduce the guest.
Exactly. We are not going to the PHiSH Spring Tour.
Yeah, no, I'll be couching it. But
we will be doing the after show and member hangs at set break.
Yes, the member hangs will be back. And we did a member hang last Friday, which was pretty cool because I've decided that's the one place you can say what you really think. And you don't have to worry about it being out for everybody.
That's my problem is I always say what I really think. And then later people are like, you shouldn't have said that. I'm like, yeah, you're right. Fuck.
And you're like, hey, it happens. These are the things that happen. So somebody mentioned, I think Jason said that Neil Young's going to do a fall tour, but from what I hear, that Neil Young has expressed concern that he may be deported.
That's wait, is this your Neil Young minute? Do you want to go into it?
No, this is definitely the Neil Young minute.
Oh, that's it.
I mean, he said that he's doing the European tour. You may have missed over the past couple of weeks. He was going to do a show in Ukraine, and then that got canceled because they were worried about his guitars. the getting bombed or something like that. But he's still
Weird.
doing a whole tour of Europe, right?
Yeah.
And he's afraid when he tries to come back home, since he's Canadian, they're going to deny his citizenship and deport him.
Sounds completely. And this is why April Fool's doesn't work, because that's not a fucked up, made up headline. That's like a legit story.
Right. You know? Which is crazy. It's crazy to think about. I mean, because yes, Neil Young's Canadian, but he's an American institution. I mean, from Buffalo Springfield through his solo stuff, the CSN. I mean, just he's like part of the American songbook, really. As much as I goof on the guy.
You don't goof on him. You're his #1 fan. We have a whole segment. I mean, besides
Do you
Fish
remember
and
how this
maybe
started?
The Dead.
Do you remember how the
know.
Neil Young Minute started?
Vaguely, I think we used to, in the chat or in our meetings, that might even have been when we had meetings, we would do a round table to come up with ideas, and you would always pitch Neil Young stories. And
Right,
T and I would be like, why the fuck do you keep pitching Neil Young stories?
Well, one night we were on here talking about it, and I said that Neil Young was a second-rate Dylan. And the next thing I know, we started doing the Neil Young Minute every week. I was listening to Heart of Gold, and I was like, that's a bad Dylan tune.
Yeah. That's the beautiful
What
thing
can we
about
do?
Wook Plus. Everything happens kind of organically, and like, you know, it just kind of happens, and before you know, we're doing Neil Young minutes.
We're doing
Well,
the best we can.
I'm glad I was able to come back and hang out with you guys, and I will be doing this again soon, I think. But
Yeah, pop in next week and say hi to
I'll
Matt.
say hi to Matt. I like Matt. Matt's a good guy.
He's got
All
a
right,
lot
everybody.
going on. And we're out of here. Thank you guys for watching. Like, subscribe.
Later. I'm usually in bed by now. I'll become an old man. I'm like,
It's late. And we swung forward. Oh,
Oh,
wait,
yeah.
that means it's earlier.
No, Awen wakes me up at like 5:30 every morning.
We're going to need Jason to confirm what exact time zone we are in at this moment.
Oh, it's fun.
City.